How's everybody today? Doing good?
Yes.
Yes, nice to see your faces. Terry's going to be here in a minute. Before we start, as usual, quickly go around the room. You don't need to stand up. I want you to say your name and tell us what one tiny thing makes you happy today. So, I'm Kathy Fernandez, and I am, I always feel like we're at an AA meeting, but which I've never been at, but I admit I'm a realtor. Anyway, I'm Kathy Fernandez, and one thing that makes me happy today is I feel healthy. What makes you happy today, Sveta? One tiny thing.
My name is Sveta, and what makes me happy is when clients call me.
When clients call you, and that made you happy today, that's happened?
Yeah.
Yay! What made them call you?
They want to buy a house.
Oh my gosh, we
Yeah.
live for that.
We do.
This is textbook. I love it. Good.
Love it.
All right.
I'm Kelly Gray Wonder, and I took our continuing ed licensing class yesterday, and I'm happy because I have a little more insight as to our new form that's going to be coming out in August. So,
Was that for realtors or was that
no,
for
it's
you?
for mortgage
Who
licensing.
taught that class?
His name is Ken Perry,
I heard
a
that
national
name.
trainer,
Oh, wow.
and he was actually very, very good. So, it's not going to be as complicated as we thought it was going to be for all of us.
That's good to hear. You know, what she's talking about, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about it shortly. But what she's talking about is literally going to dovetail with all these little things you need to do long before closing, or you're going to create major problems for your clients.
Yes.
So we'll have you touch on that, Kelly. Carla, what tiny thing, say your name, what tiny thing makes you happy?
Carla Steffen, and that I am getting healthy again. I've been off and on sick with that cold since the middle of December. So I'm just starting to get back from that.
It takes forever. It really hangs on, doesn't
Yours
it?
comes out all the time.
Yeah, I finally feel like I'm all over the top of it. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lisa Staniforth, and what makes me happy today is my drug testing has ended.
Oh, yay! This was the
Duplex.
The duplex?
Been on the market for about a week.
For that price, amazing. At the price he wanted?
No, we went back and forth about 3 or 4 times. I was like, hey, get your numbers. But I had, there was a wonderful licensee on the other side, so we worked it out.
Outstanding. And you were so persistent. I just love the way you chased that guy around. Perfect.
Oh, it's that one.
Okay, Terry, give us your name and tell us the one tiny thing that makes you happy today.
My name is Terry Ellis. The one tiny thing,
Tiny thing.
good cup of coffee in the morning.
Okay. That made you happy this morning?
Yeah,
Do you make the coffee yourself?
yes I did.
What do you think of the coffee at Jack White?
That's good.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
it's good.
Okay, I'm glad you told me that, because I told people it's bad, so I don't even try it, so that's not a good, that's a bad attitude.
They have changed it, so.
Oh, maybe that's why it's good.
Smells good, tastes good.
Your name, please, again.
Anthony Ferrero, how's everyone doing?
Nice to see you back. Is he on our list?
I know, always running around.
What's the one tiny thing that makes you happy today?
That I could get off of bed and be thankful for my health and that I can come into work.
Yes. You know, I was thinking that as I was down the elevator, the fact that we all have a job to come to, that's pretty cool. Chris?
I'm Chris Hughes, and the one thing that makes me happy is I'm down 41 pounds since July.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that because you became a loan originator? And
Yeah, I've been running around. Yeah, no, I've been on a special diet, so
Oh,
it's really paid off.
that's outstanding.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
It is.
41 pounds is a lot. I have a young friend, she's maybe 35, and she has lost 85 pounds. This woman has gone from this to this. She's taller than me. And she did it with Weight Watchers, and she walks 10 miles every day, no matter what the weather is.
Wow.
And you talk about focused, and she's a busy lady. She's actually a very good and fairly well-known producer and director of plays, and I'm connected with that. And she looks amazing. She's like one-third the size she used to be, 85 pounds. Dan?
I'm Dan Bale, and I think I might have got 20. That Santa season, just sitting there eating popcorn and watching kids, and it just keeps adding up.
So does that make you happy?
No,
What makes you happy?
what makes me happy is I don't have to go to those AA meetings either, but I get to go to bee meetings.
What are those?
I belong to a bee club for honeybees.
Oh, awesome.
So I tell people, oh, I'm going to a bee meeting, and I go, what? And that always makes me happy, because it's funny.
What is a honeybee? You mean, it's
I
not
have
the one?
honeybees.
Oh, so there's a honeybee club, sort of? How often do you all meet
Every fourth Monday of the month.
and talk about bees?
Oh, yeah, you know what the Red Green Show is?
No.
You ever saw that? Anybody else see the Red Green Show?
No.
It's a Canadian sitcom
Yeah.
about a fraternity of old guys in Canada that do everything with duct tape, baling wire, and character. And that's kind of like going to this bee meeting. It's like going to the Red Green Show. There's a lot of character, and there's duct tape, and I'm sure there's baling wire involved there somewhere. And we have a good time. And we do talk about bees, but we poke fun at each other and tell jokes.
Do they want to buy or sell property?
No,
How do you know?
because they have an account that says $3,000 in it.
No, not
Oh, the people, oh, yeah.
individuals.
I'll be giving them cards.
Well, yeah, Dan, you haven't already?
Oh, I haven't had a meeting.
Oh,
I've had the cards.
fair enough. You haven't had a meeting, that's understandable. Okay. Okay, Lee, what makes you, say your name, what makes you happy?
I'm Lee, and my dog recently had surgery, and I was really happy this morning that he actually went up the entire flight of stairs and was in today. He's really still struggling, but he's more scared than anything, but he did it.
So great, yeah, that's right. Name, what makes you happy today? What tiny thing makes you happy today?
Bernfeld, and everything is online for my first closing on Thursday.
Wow! This is the guy that markets through buying other people beer.
Yes, correct. And I should have offers probably next week for my next glass of beer.
We have to learn how to drink beer. All right, very good. How about a success story? Maybe 2 success stories, anybody? I heard a whole bunch of them just going around the table. Yes, sir.
By mistake, I was looking up on my database of clients that I've talked to or people that I've talked to at open houses, and I dialed up the wrong person. And then I'm like, oh, how's it going? You know, this is so on and so on. You know, I dialed your number by mistake, which was totally honest. But I remembered the person because I was talking to them for quite a while. And she's like, well, I'm doing pretty well. You know, my husband and I have actually been talking about purchasing a property again. You know, we're back in the market. It's been a while, so. And I go, well, what a coincidence that the house that I showed you that I met you is finally finished. You want to come by and take a look at it? And they came by. The husband is not sold on it, but then the next following day, I told them, well, look, I got something else for you. Oh, that same day I had something else just in case. And they want to put an offer. And I'm going to list our house. So,
Oh, that's huge by just making those prospect calls.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard to reach out to them because, it is prospects. But it's a proven fact. You could get, you got to be persistent. I guess.
You have to, how many do you, in your daily plan, do you typically make in a week? What's your
I
goal?
don't have, that's one thing I have to work on. That's one of my efforts
Set a
that I
goal.
have. Yeah, set a goal. And I try to call them out every so often, but it's not something that I have been after. But,
Does it make
I'm
you
getting
nervous to make those calls?
well, I not so much to them, more so when we had, when the last time I was here, I tried to do the cold calls. Yeah, cold calls.
So this was kind of a warm call?
Yeah, this was a one.
You'd met them, yeah.
Yeah, definitely one call.
Okay, good. But you followed up, means everything to everybody. Any other success stories?
Always make sure you have your name writer on your sign at your properties. That's how I sold my listing, was off of that.
Good point, yeah. Do you all know what we're talking, does anybody have listings where you don't have your name on that listing?
My name and my picture.
Your name and your picture on the listing? Okay, you have personalized, starts at the age, yeah, fine.
But on the sign outside of the property itself, I put the name writer, so they call me directly.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
great.
have a picture on your name writer?
I have my own posters that are ready to.
He has his personalized yard signs.
Personalized yard sign.
Awesome.
with my
You should
picture
do that
and
too,
my
Kyle.
name.
Doesn't cost a nickel more.
It
I
doesn't.
did get one call.
No, when I ordered, when we order signs, I guess we do pay for our signs, I hadn't thought about that, is putting them up that Jack White covers. Yeah, oh, I guess it does cost more, because if you're using the standard Jack White sign, that's automatic. No, we do have personalized signs.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine not having personalized signs. I want the business.
Yeah.
But that's good, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
On that, I also, the first call that I got off of my duplex listing was somebody looking for to rent it. You know, so I went out there and I went down the list and bought those red and white duplex signs. And I actually stapled them over the Jack White phone number on each side so that they would have to call my name writer. And then I put the duplex thing on the directional sign off of Tudor.
That's good.
So I know that really.
So you made a difference, yeah. Any field problems?
Yes.
What?
Well,
This will be a
I
long
don't know
story.
if this is a field problem. Anything to do with buying and selling real estate, you call it a field problem.
If it's a problem,
That's a problem.
let's hear it.
I have a young man, can't make up his mind. I've shown him maybe 30 properties. Wanted to get a condo. Then he wanted to get a house, a small house. And so we finally put in an offer of this really nice little 2-bedroom house over off Elmore 66 there. Then remodeled. It's a great little house, big yard. He was real enthusiastic. His parents came over and looked at it, or his dad did. He was real enthusiastic, so we put it in an offer. Lowballed him a little bit, not bad. Asked him to pay all the closing costs. They came back, which I thought was fair, and they wanted full price, and they would pay 2/3 of the closing costs, maybe a little more. Well, now he is like, oh, I gotta think about this. He's like, and he's done this before. I almost put in 2 offers for him before he backs down at the last minute. So my problem is not the real estate business per se, it's my client, and how do I talk to him? He's a young man, he's a great young guy, I think he's scared, and he's worked hard, and he's saved up almost 40 grand at 23 years old by living with his parents and renting from them, renting a room. So I gotta hand it to him, he's very hard working. But it's like, my problem is, how would you handle something like that? I was gonna sit him down, have a talk, say, look, you're young, this is a great little house, or if you don't want a house, I'll find you a condo. But it's like, you need to make up your mind, and how do I say that without alienating him and,
What do y'all think?
But don't say little house.
And don't say you're young.
Yeah, or young. Because little house diminishes the house and young diminishes his age. So you don't want to do those two.
I've never said that to him.
Right.
So,
But otherwise, you just inform him that this is a wealth building opportunity that he's heading forth into versus, losing money. And the longer he waits, the less wealth he builds in his lifetime. Kind of pushing him forward.
Thing about how fast real estate goes, and you better make it, it's important that if you really like this, you need to stay on it.
He probably helped him understand we're still in a seller's market. And he's fortunate that this seller, because not very many of them will, even assist with his closing costs. He may need to know that. The other issue, it's always an issue, is interest rates move all the time. So what he can afford to buy today, if he doesn't consummate that transaction, if he puts another offer in a month, the interest rates might be greater, and his buying power has diminished.
Is he renting at this current time?
Yeah.
From his
Okay.
parents.
Living
From his
For his parents, well, always tell him, the market is always gradually moving, equity is always rising.
Prices.
And the sooner he starts establishing himself with his credit, being a homeowner, later on in the future, he can finally get that dream house that he probably will want to get. Nobody, my belief is your first house is never your dream house. After you work way up.
It's a very good point. Have the parents been at all involved in his decision-making or looking at homes?
he has them come over and look at it. He gets the opinion.
I'm just wondering if there's any way to have a meeting with the parents and him and yours, because he will likely trust their thinking, and they're more mature and they were gonna trust you, but he seems to have a lack of confidence in his own decision-making ability. So if his parents maybe were more involved in helping him decide what to do, that might give you more weight.
Okay.
I think I'd involve the parents.
And I'm not trying, it's not all about the sale. It's
No, of
about
course
finding
not.
him what he wants.
Right.
But I just see him being so hesitant and everything. And, I mean, if it's my own son, I can talk to him like that child. But,
You have to believe that someone who's that conservative and careful as a young person who can save $40,000, as hard as he's worked to say that, he's probably terrified at letting any portion of that
he
go.
is.
So he's afraid. And maybe if you approach it from, that you understand how afraid he is, and how impressed you are that he saved this money. Let's get your parents involved, let's see what your parents have to say about this too. Have the parents been aware of all the other properties you've shown them?
Yeah, they've looked at a lot.
Okay, so they probably have better instincts by far than this young man about the fact this is what he should end up doing.
I told him I was happy that he went from not wanting a condo to wanting a house. I said, because the dues, now can go towards your mortgage payment rather than toward dues.
Another thing that I think would be helpful is if he understands that by moving forward with this particular purchase, if there's anything about the home inspection that gives him concern, that is a legitimate reason not to buy. But he's going to have vested about, $800 with his inspections. So so he's got to be willing to take that risk. But if he understands that by signing and moving forward today isn't the end of the line, that there's other ways to get out of the transaction, maybe that'll make you more comfortable too.
And have you,
Go ahead.
have you read the parents? Do you know what the parents are like? What type of personalities they are?
Very nice.
Could they be holding him
Dad's-
back?
Pardon?
Could they be holding him back?
I don't think so. I mean, his father he strikes me as a very commonsensical guy, kind of like a rock,
Okay.
and doesn't try to tell his son what to do, encourages him, gives him his opinion, but doesn't try to force his opinion on it.
Yeah, well, because to use my father as an example, every time he told me no, I said yes, and I succeeded, but I needed him to tell me no. And so,
So you can springboard off of that.
so I could springboard off of that.
We
But
should talk about
But,
that.
but if he's a very conservative person and he's got parents and they're trying to be involved, especially, mom and dads don't always agree,
Yeah.
you could actually be looking at maybe needing to work on that relationship between the three of them and to find out if they're maybe somewhere being pulled back. Maybe mom is in the corner going, "Are you sure, son?" And the dad's going, "Well, maybe," or,
Is he an only child?
Yes.
Ouch.
There you go.
Ouch.
There you go.
Yeah. Mom may not really want the young man to leave the house.
mhm.
Yeah, they have put him in a cocoon. That's why he's afraid. He's, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Obviously, the young man is capable
Oh,
of
yeah.
earning and saving money,
He's a great guy.
and probably making his own decisions, but he could be very well afraid of letting loose of that money, like you mentioned.
Hopefully.
But what it is it's an asset change from money in the bank to value in a house. He's not losing any of that money. And he needs to understand that if he's gonna put $40,000 down in the house, it's not like giving it away.
That's a good way
He's
to
got
put
it
That is
here.
very good, very
Yeah.
good, Dan.
Like
I
a
like
savings
that.
account.
Right.
That may be what he's
grow.
afraid of, is his hard-earned cash.
I would even emphasize if he's very comfortable and he could save at home, I would tell him, look, if you were to rent this out, you'd get this much in return. It's a single 2-bedroom home. The figures for 2 bedrooms are really well. I don't know the price of the house, but you could always emphasize that his equity would rise, that they, come tomorrow, he could always sell it. His money's always gonna be vested in there. Obviously, he has to sit on it for a while, but I would show him figures. I had a client who, in my last closing, she bought a house in Florida, and she took a $40,000 hit on her home, and I showed her everything, and she didn't want to budge over her budget, and she ended up budgeting, because I found the exact house, and I emphasized the equity. I showed her everything in the market for a ranch, and she was just like, she couldn't say no to it, that the investment was there. So she finally closed. And she did it with her husband, going through almost a divorce.
Wow.
Her husband wasn't here, he signed up on all the papers. I mean, I did show that house like 20 times, but she had her whole family, all her sons, everybody see the house. Just because of her investment, she was so, she was frightened. She had cold feet, but I made her. She was actually going to get on a rental. She had about 2 weeks to sign a lease on a rental, and I had her buy the house. So it's just cold feet. You got to give them the numbers. I always go with the numbers.
Is he a tall, thin young man, or is he a small, chunky guy?
He's not real short, but he's smaller and very wiry. He works all day long physical labor.
That's a good point. If he's a numbers guy, the fact, as you said too, that he's just transferring equity, and the transfer will go from 40,000 in the bank at 0 interest almost to the potential value of a home. We have to be very careful that we never say that your home will appreciate in value. Do you agree with that?
Well, you
We're
say you
not in
never
control
know.
of that, but the potential is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, potential's a good word.
Yeah. So, but he sounds like he's probably a little bit of a numbers guy, and clearly he's probably been spoiled and doesn't know how to make decisions. Well, good concern.
Well,
Let us
make
know
sure
how it
the
goes
feedback
next week.
helps. Yeah.
Okay, is there do we need to talk about the defection of some of our friends from Jack White over to the other company? Does anybody have any questions or concerns about that maybe I could address as a 40-year licensee? Cool. Yes, Dan?
I got a file cabinet out of it.
I love it.
Jim Murphy got a new office, and I don't know about the carpet.
Who got a new office?
Jim,
Oh, he did.
one of theirs.
Okay. This is not an uncommon, for new people, the defection of licensees is a very common event in our business. The grass really isn't greener. The only thing that makes grass greener is what we put into it. I think we know that. These are good licensees. They'll certainly remain friends, I think, of most of us. They do good business, so it is what it is. It happens a lot in this business. The one thing I can tell you is I'm not going anywhere, and I know where I need to be. And I would want to be where we have an incredible broker, because I want somebody who's got my back. And I have lots and lots of confidence in our broker here, and the management team, and ultimately the goals of Jack White and how they want to run their business. We are a hands-on, caring group of realtors. We're not a numbers business at all. We're not a whole bunch of teams where nobody at the bottom of the team knows anything about real estate. You'll find yourself doing business with those folks. So, it's a good company. Jackie Danner is a good owner broker. She's a very busy lady. She's not always as available to the licensees as Gabe is going to be to us. Anyway, any questions about any of that?
That was brought up at the marketing meetings, or business meeting this morning also.
Good. Did I say the same thing?
Pretty close.
Good, okay, great. All right, let's move on to frequently overlooked just prior to closing. And as you all know, a lot of what I bring to Trenches is my own experience. So these matters apply to both listing realtors and selling realtors, and hopefully we'll certainly check this for you. So when are we supposed to open? If you're the listing realtor and you've had an offer come in on your property, when are you supposed to open title?
Right away.
Right away. There's going to be a few people out there, licensees, say, well, I'm going to open title once the inspections are done. Wrong. You are required to open title immediately.
That's if you're listing.
Yes, listing agent opens title, and I think we've talked about this before, but if I'm on the selling side, I will send almost immediately a copy of the purchase and sale agreement, not only to the loan originator, but to the title company. And in my cover email, I'll simply say, please coordinate with the listing realtor about opening title. So I'm not the one that demanded that the title be open, but I'm certainly nudging the other guy to get it open. So just a thought. So make sure title gets open.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why do you do this?
Because if there is any liens against the property that would prevent the transaction from closing, you know right now.
Right away.
Especially if they're difficult liens like child support liens or liens of that nature that need time to get cleaned up. Tony, can you touch on that?
Yep, I did a pre-poll for a guy and full credit. There was nothing on his credit report. We got the prelim in 2 weeks before closing, and there's a $32 tax lien on him. So we're in state we hold now. So it's
Wow.
the
It delayed closing.
It did delay closing. And it's I mean, a week wouldn't have made that big of a difference, but this, we could have had 3 weeks earlier to work on it. There were 3 weeks ahead of the game.
Yeah, so when that, I think it's further, but when the title report comes in, what's your obligation? To review it. Review it for liens against the property, against the sellers, and frankly, even against your own buyers.
So we just had one that came in and he had a common name, Ed Johnson. And they said he had child support lien against him, which was physically impossible. He's 86, he's lived in this, been married to the same wife for 40 plus years. And it's just because his name was common. There wasn't Ed Johnson that has child support.
And it had to be cleaned up.
But they don't know which Ed Johnson it is.
Lee, you had a question?
Oh, what is the process when they open title? 'Cause that's-
All I do is send a copy of the PSA to the lender and to the title company.
Okay.
With that verbiage on top. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Okay, if the purchase and sale agreement requires it, have you ordered the as-built survey? And this is what prompted this whole thing. In my mind, I visualized that we'd ordered the as-built. I actually visualized the Bob John's on site. And in retrospect, I realize now it was the appraiser that went up there. But in my mind, we'd ordered the as-built. And this particular transaction required, we represented the seller. The buyer wanted a copy of an as-built of the neighboring property. That was the other thing that kind of threw me off. They wanted of the neighboring property because there was like almost a common driveway. So we got that immediately, and then as-built just flew out of my mind till the day of signing, or the day before signing. And Bob Johns, who we typically work with, used to turn an as-built in a day if you needed him to, or on average 3 days. Sometimes it's taking him longer now. So I was sweating bullets, but he turned it around for us in 3 days. And it went to closing. It didn't really delay the recording because the title company recorded late for us. But I felt like an idiot. I mean, after all these years, I should know better. And so what I did wrong is I had not been working with my checklist. If I'd been working with my checklist, my systems in place, that would not have happened. Now, I haven't yet given Lee that responsibility, so I can't blame her for this. But, but the truth is, have checklists, have systems in place. Okay, so when you get the as-built survey, naturally you look at it as well, do you not? Make sure there's nothing that's going to create problems at closing. Number 3, if there is a home warranty, is it noted on the HUD settlement statement? Oh my gosh. That's probably we don't have a problem with this because I make the warranty the last page of my purchase and sale agreement. So I don't have to thumb through the contract or the file to see, oh my gosh, do we have a warranty? It's a part of our contract. We make it the last page. So if I'm in doubt, I can take the PSA, flip it to the last page if there's a warranty or not. And the truth is, if we have a situation where the buyer did not want a warranty and I'm representing the buyer, I throw that HSA application in there and I write waived across it and I have the buyer sign it. So again, I can tell in a second if we have a warranty or not. What's going to go sideways though is your closer is not going to pick up that warranty. So many times the closer, the title person gets just a portion of the contract, maybe the first 7 pages. And if your HSA application is in there at the back, they're never going to see it. So when you get a HUD, make sure that the warranty is a line item that either the seller or the buyer pays. Because we've had lots of them go to closing. A month later, your client calls you and say, my dishwasher just broke. What about that warranty that you recommended to me? And I've seen many realtors buy a warranty in a dishwasher. So make sure it's on the HUD settlement statement. Yes, Carla?
May I recommend doing it way earlier than that as well, because you're supposed to, in essence, order it yourself from off of that form. And by doing that, at least I've written a date on it, the day I ordered it, sent you an email.
You do this if you're representing a buyer, Carla?
Well, yes, I do.
Okay.
If the buyer's going to be paying for it.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on the other side lately, being on the seller side where the seller's paying for it. But if you stay on top of it with the other realtor as well and get that contract with that contract number, then you'll have it prior to, and then when the title's open, I just send that right over to
Good idea.
title.
That's a great idea. It's on the front end of the transaction. And of course, if you're the listing realtor and your seller opted for a warranty, you, of course, immediately submit that application so you have a contract number, and your seller therefore has coverage.
All
If
you have to do is call.
And you can call, yeah.
It's just a call.
Or online.
So quick.
Yeah. Okay, don't forget the warranty, because it can bite you. Number 4, did you review the preliminary title commitment? If so, are there any outstanding liens against the property and or the buyers and sellers? So we talked about that. If you see any liens, pick up the phone and call the title company, go to work on it. Have you provided title with a commission letter? If you haven't, they're gonna harass you for it. I tend not to send that in right away because sometimes the sales price changes and I hate doing things twice. So I end up being behind the 8 ball on the commission letter, but again, it's something that, particularly with what Kelly's gonna tell us in a few minutes, you're gonna want that commission letter in early. Any questions about a commission letter? Do we all know what we're talking about here? Okay. Number 6, did you do a final walkthrough inspection with the buyers? How many people do not offer a final walkthrough to your buyers? Oh my gosh. Always do a final walkthrough inspection. It's, you know, within 3 days before signing, it could all get crazy because they've got to get utilities in their name, there's a HUD that everyone's working on. HUD goes back and forth between title and lender for approval and then reapproval. Everybody's frantic, people are moving, it's crazy. But I don't care how busy you are, you schedule a final walkthrough inspection with your buyer. Don't ever let them close without a final walkthrough. It'll create a lot of problems.
3 days before closing, because I'm like, what if you go in and there's something that's major, like, we did one the other day, and it was like on the same day, and I know that, you don't normally, I don't think of.
Well,
Like,
I would say, and I'm learning this too, if there's a laundry list of repairs, get the repair receipts, get approval from the listing realtor that the work is done, and then do an early walkthrough. Because if the repairs aren't done correctly, you need a window of time to get them done right. If it's a minimal repair situation, you have confidence in the other realtor and the property, then I often do them the day of closing because I kind of want my buyer to see the house one last second before they go sign papers. But that's tricky coordination, and sometimes we've done walkthroughs at 9 o'clock at night for the morning closing. But if there's a laundry list of repairs, I agree with Lee, you should probably be in there sooner than later, and then maybe one final. Okay? All right. Number 7, if there were agreed upon repairs, did you obtain repair receipts from the listing licensee? Yeah, we were pulling teeth to get repair receipts, even though we'd asked for them well in advance. And you know what, guys? You are required to read contractor ineligible writing. You've got to figure out, you've got to look at those repair receipts and really become a sleuth and figure out if that line item repair really coordinates with your repair request. You cannot slough that off. It's probably the thing I dislike most about real estate is becoming a contractor. You can't expect your buyer to know what they're looking at, so you have to get pretty firm with the other realtor, look at that repair receipt. I've called contractors all the time. I can't read what you said here about that plumbing repair. Can you tell me exactly what you did? So, takes time, gotta do it. Let's see. So did you review, okay, before you do your final walkthrough, go back to your repair amendment so you have a handle on exactly what you're supposed to be looking at. In fact, we did a walkthrough 2 days ago and the buyer said, yesterday, I don't know when it was, yesterday. Buyer said, well, didn't we ask for this, this, and this? No, sir, you didn't. These are the things you asked the seller to do. Those other things were contained in the inspection report, but you didn't ask the seller to do that. Oh, okay, fine. So, you gotta be ahead of, you have to be smarter than your clients.
What I like to do with that is I'll take their inspection report, highlight the items that they asked for, bring it with, along with the contract, so they can see, okay, yes, this is
Good
done,
idea.
and check it off. So
As
that
it's
they have a
done.
physical thing in front of them and they don't have to.
Very good. That's a great idea. It takes a little time. Number 9, did you ask the buyers if they wanted their various home inspectors on board during the final walkthrough inspection? I believe you have an obligation to the buyer to let them know that if they want their inspectors there, who are the very ones that called for these repairs, to look at make sure the repairs are done correctly, you have an obligation to make that available to your buyer. Because if the buyer says yes, you may have to schedule 3 to 5 days in advance those inspectors to get over there at the same time, and the inspectors will charge. So it's not free. And they'll put in writing what was done, and the good news is when your buyer goes to sell his home in 4 years, his inspection report, if he still has it, will typically become part of his property disclosure. So if he has a final walkthrough inspection where the home inspector said that repair was done, that was done, that was done, that was done, they were all done correctly, you can add that to the disclosure, and now you have a great paper trail on the property. Yeah.
So this one property I'm working on my buyer, we had the inspection, and they're doing the repairs, and they're gonna do a re-inspection, and so I went my buyer, they were there for the inspection, I wasn't there for the re-inspection.
Buyers and home inspectors.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So that would be, then I wouldn't have to have the inspector there for the final walkthrough.
I wouldn't think so, as long as you have, no, the final walkthrough is just the house is still standing, and the refrigerator's still there,
Okay,
and the stove still works.
okay.
Yeah, good question. So you see you're gonna spend a lot of time in these houses. Number 10, did you have the buyer sign off on a final walkthrough inspection document stating that they are satisfied with the repairs that were done? Just because they walked through and they said, oh, everything looks fine, as Carla said, make them sign off on something that they saw things and they were okay with what they saw. If you go to court and they didn't sign something and they say, I never looked at that, you could lose, they could win. Have them sign off on something. And we also take the bill of sale, make sure all the items on the bill of sale that were supposed to stay are still in place, and I have the buyer sign off on the bill of sale. Yes, these appliances were here. Okay. Number 11, if the buyers opted not to have their home inspectors on board during the final walkthrough inspection, did you have the buyers so state that they waived the opportunity? The answer is yes. If they said, no, we don't need our inspector there, make them sign something that says they waived that opportunity. Well, Kathy, you never told us we could have our inspectors back, and you should have known we weren't qualified to look at these repairs, and now we're going to sue you. Have them sign something. Number 12, did you timely provide title with seller's mortgage payoff information? And Kelly will tell us that's going to be done much sooner than certainly I've been doing in the past. Number 13, if you have clients who will not be in town for signing, have you obtained through title a specific power of attorney for the clients to authorize prior to closing? You will hear this a million times in your real estate career. Oh, Kathy, we don't need a specific power of attorney. We have a power of attorney. You know, we have a military power of attorney. Well, that's just lovely, but it's not going to work. We need a specific power of attorney for specifically this property, this transaction.
And
So
Alaska
don't let them.
Title
What was
does that. Alaska Title does that.
Yeah, yes, of course. So don't let them get away with, they don't know any better, but don't let, well, I've got a general coverage for everything. Okay, that's great, bring me a copy of it, love to see it, but get a specific. Number 14, just prior to closing or just after closing, did you remove the lockbox if you were the listing realtor? How many dead lockboxes have you seen on properties that are someone's paying for? Number 15, when clients picked up the keys to their new home, did you have them sign for the keys? Don't just hand keys to anybody. Well, Kathy, you never gave me that key. Yes, I did. Make them sign for it. We even make them sign for the number of keys. We gave you 7 keys and 2 garage door openers. And good luck, we love working with you. Number 16, did you remind clients to either have utilities taken out of their name or put into their name effective the day of recording? Yeah, I think we tend to overlook that a little bit. Utilities, get them in and out of the names. Did the appraisal get ordered timely? If you're not the listing realtor and the selling realtor and your buyer's not paying for the appraisal, that may be an issue that doesn't get done timely. So even though it's not your job, it's the listing realtor's job supposedly to make sure things are done timely, follow up with that other realtor, whether, no matter what side of the deal you're on. The truth is, as much as I think, at least I prefer doing business with myself, I like being the listing and selling realtor, not because there's more commission involved, but I trust myself. The truth is, there's a lot to be said for the value of having another person looking at the transaction who's just as vested as you are. And if you make friends with that realtor and you're working it together, that's better for your clients. And typically things will get done in a more timely and professional manner. If the purchase and sale agreement's performance dates have not been met, have you made sure there are proper extension amendments prepared? Don't assume that just because everybody says, well, we know we're out of contract on getting the inspections done, but you know what, we're fine with it. Seller doesn't care, buyer's gonna do them. You guys could get in so much trouble with that. That could be a huge way for one of the parties to get out of the transaction and the other party loses a sale or they lose their earnest money. Yeah, don't let these dates expire. Put them on your calendar somehow, keep track of them. Number 19, did you remind the new buyers in writing that they are well advised to change the locks after just moving in? We put that on our, here's your 7 keys, please sign, and by the way, thank you so much for your business, congratulations on your new home, and we recommend that you have the locks changed. They may not have even thought about that. Just a good idea. Number 20, if ownership is held in a trust, did you timely provide title with necessary trust documents? I learned the hard way several years ago, don't do it anymore, but if you have a seller who owns property in a trust, get those trust documents to title immediately, so we can start hammering on that. We had one seller that had to leave Alaska, fly back home to wherever, and go through boxes of files to find his trust document because he hadn't recorded it. Delayed closing by 30 days, and he wasn't happy, but it wasn't my fault, but I should have known better and said, look, we need to immediately get us those trust documents. Number 21, did you review the appraisal to determine that the property appraised for the sales price and/or does the appraiser's conclusion regarding property square footage equal what is stated on MLS? Oh my goodness. I've seen many times when the appraiser comes in, even 100 square feet less than what was on MLS. And I've had buyers that will throw their hands up and agree not to buy because of somebody lied to me about square footage. Somebody lied to me. So the minute that appraisal comes in the door, look for whatever the lender required repairs are, look for value, and look at the square footage that the appraiser says is on, that he's put on the appraisal, and go back and see if it's different than what's on MLS. If it's different, get on the phone right away with your buyer or the seller, whoever. Get on the phone and start working on that immediately. Don't go to closing with a discrepancy like that. Okay, 22, did you review the appraisal for lender appraiser required repairs? That might be in addition to agreed upon repairs. Our loan originators are pretty good about alerting us to those kind of things, but sometimes there's lender required repairs that will surprise you, and they'll be over and above whatever the parties have agreed to. So can we go around the room? Is there anything we've overlooked that would help everybody else? And we're going to, Kelly, talk to us about what's happening in August. Yes, ma'am.
So I know, I don't do any of this, Kathy does it also, I'm learning store, but, so I know like when we do like the purchase and sales agreement, you have people DocuSign. What if they are out of town and they're buying a house? Because I mean, I've heard people like they haven't even seen the house, but they buy it from, you know, wherever. Can they DocuSign the closing itself? Will they allow that?
What you're asking is, there's actually a form in the forms package that says, if you're buying a house sight unseen, you have to sign your life away and don't sue us.
Right.
So there's a form for that.
Okay, but I'm just saying that, or let's say I've seen the house and I'm like, but now I am somewhere away because, you know, and I can't come in for closing.
Oh, yeah.
You can DocuSign.
Yeah.
No,
No.
they either have to be overnighted to them,
Okay.
sign them in person at a title company or an attorney's office or something like that, or somebody can sign a power of attorney for them.
Okay. Because I'm like, if I sell my house and push it, I don't want to have to drive or fly all the way down there just to, and they don't have, you know, like Visa up here or Bank of America up here. So I mean, it's not even the same bank's not even here to like, you know, branch. So I can just,
Yeah, you'll
They
just
have
sign
to have
all this.
original signatures.
okay, that's what that's what I was thinking in my head, but I was like, I just didn't know how it would work, but makes sense.
Around the room, anybody, have we overlooked anything here that we should add to our under notes? Carly, you know a lot. Have we overlooked anything?
I don't think so. Good. Seems good.
There's always something. We're just trying to get to closing. We haven't even listed or written the contract, and there's 22 things to worry about. So we get, you know, we earn our keep.
Those lists in the buyer and seller packets, they get, just have a list in there.
Yeah. I don't think it covers all the subtleties of what can go sideways, but yeah.
You're better off to go through like this and that.
And develop
make
your own,
list.
absolutely. And it would also be helpful to put it more in occurrence order. This is just random. it would be helpful. We have I have an Excel spreadsheet on my computer that is about this long. And when things are done, I check them off. But the thing is, I need to check that, you know. You've got systems in place, you have to work them. When you get sometimes busy, you start doing it out of your head, you get in trouble. All right, if there's nothing else, Kelly, tell us what's gonna happen in August.
Well, the new change is going to be, we provide, when we get ready to close, we have to provide the buyers all the paperwork for closing. And they have 3 days to review it before they can final sign. So,
Okay, first question. What if they have no idea what they're looking at and they want you to go over it with them, or me to go over it with them, or title to go over it with them?
Sure.
What happens there?
that's fine. Anybody can, but they have to be provided to the buyers before 3 days before they can actually sign. And then they're provided with the closing documents at closing to sign. So if you guys did forget your commission letter and the original documents went out, the clock will start all over again. So everything, we're all gonna have to work closely together to make sure that everybody gets what they need to title in time for that to happen.
Now,
I do
repair
expect
bills,
delays.
repair bills, commission letter.
And then settlement's gonna be called what? Lending?
The new form that we have to provide is called a loan estimate.
Loan
And
estimate.
it's actually kind of cool. We went over it line by line yesterday, and it's combining the TIL and the good faith estimate. And it's much easier for the buyer to read, it really is. It's got everything broken out and a lot of disclosures, it's incorporated a lot of the disclosures actually on the Form 2. And I think it's gonna be a little simpler for them to read.
So how does the buyer get this package? Is it email and how can you validate when they got it?
It either has to be delivered to them electronically, I believe. Now, they haven't finalized everything yet. They don't have everything set in stone. They're still working out things, or the buyer has to come and pick them up. So we have to actually make sure that they've received them. And then the clock starts, and then 3 days.
And that's
Business days.
3 business days,
Yes.
isn't it? So it could be 5 days over the weekend.
And then they actually sign the final set of closing documents.
And anything that's not on the up and up, they have to get that done first, and then 3 days starts over, right?
Well, if you want it to be on the HUD. So
Right,
if you've
right.
got, so if you don't want to be paid, you're obviously, your commission letter,
If
you
this
know,
is a
you
charity.
say, okay, well, it didn't get provided, so things can't change. If there's a change circumstance,
closing
such as
costs
a repair addendum to get
Right.
in, or maybe
Done,
an
or closing,
extension,
yeah.
or a kind
Or
of
the well
circle.
and septic bill didn't come in on time.
Right.
Or if there's not a payoff from the seller. That was a good one on here, for title to be able to pay off that balance. So it's we're gonna take the heat for it, I'm
Well,
sure.
so will we.
But you guys need to help us with, just making sure that we're way ahead of the ball game. And we need to just prepare everybody that it will be at least a minimum of 3 days before they can sign their final set of closing documents.
With that said, Kelly, should we build in more time from point of contract to recording date?
I don't know that it's gonna make that much difference. We should be able to get it all done in 30 days. And it's, if we give them longer, they're just gonna drag their feet longer,
Okay.
I would think. We can do it now within 30 days, fine. But 45 is always a very safe thing. It's gonna be
It's
different.
gonna make us all better at our job, and this kind of checklist, I think, is gonna help us a lot.
And as, it's a long ways away, this is February, that's August, but I can certainly get nice copies of it, and we can look at it and go over it together one or
No, that would be awesome.
1 or 2 classes, so y'all are ahead of the game.
That would be awesome, because I'm already hyperventilating about the buyer that wants me to go through all those papers with them.
It'd be good to have it in your buyer's copy. So that they.
The
kinda
blank
have an idea.
loan
Right.
estimate?
Sure. That's a great idea, Yeah.
Or just like even one that has numbers and it's saying, it's a big example sample on it, you know, so that way they could go over it and, you know, have a little.
Could we
information.
get something like
Sure.
that? Wow, great idea. If you sit down with your buyers and go through your buyer kit with them, also hand them, this is a sample of the documents you're gonna see at some point. There'll be a test, you need to memorize everything.
I've already got a note for
We will not be taking questions on the day of closing.
Yeah, and don't ask me to explain.
Mine wasn't all written over, I just did it on mine, but it'll take us, you know, an
Okay.
entire class probably to look
Okay.
at it. Maybe 2 weeks, but we were 8 hours.
You're gonna do a class for us then.
Whenever.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you guys, great to see your faces. How's business?